There are a number of ways in which you can install WordPress on a web host, and I'm going to show you a very quick way here. If for any reason this method does not work for you, then go to the last lecture in this WordPress for Beginners course and download the bonus lecture, because in there is a coupon for my Installing WordPress course, which has all of the ways in which you can install WordPress, and we'll also discuss things like why I recommend you use a separate registrar and web host. The process I'm going to show you right now uses a registrar and a web host, and we're going to quickly set that up. I'm already registered with a registrar, I'm already registered with the web host, but I'm going to show you how to do that. Again, if you want more details, get that Installing WordPress course from the last bonus lecture in this course, because it won't cost you anything. Okay, let's get started. The process is simple. We sign up at a domain registrar and buy a domain name. We then sign up for hosting and we tell them about the domain name we've already bought. We then connect the registrar to the hosting plan, and then we install WordPress. The registrar I currently recommend is Namecheap, and if you go along there you can sign up for a free account. It doesn't cost anything, and then once you've got your free account, log into your account. Once you're logged in, go to Domains, Domain Name Search, and that will load up a screen that allows you to search for a domain name. Now, I'm not actually going to buy a domain right now, but I can show you that you can type something in. Let's have a look at bluewidgetguides.com. I can do a search and it will come back with the results and tell me if my domain, my chosen domain, is available. Bluewidgetguides.com is available, $6.89. If it's not available, it won't appear in the list. And there are also a number of other options there as well. So you type in your domain, the one that you want. If it's not quite right, you can go in here and change it. Let's try greenwidgets.com. Okay, greenwidgets is actually taken, but you can make an offer. That will actually end up costing you a lot, but there are other options down here. So just keep searching until you find the one that you want, and then you can go and add it to your cart and then go through the purchase process. The next step is to head on over to the web host. I'm going to show you how to set this up at StableHost, but check out the last bonus document in this course to look at my currently recommended web host, because that can change over time. At the moment, we're going to go to StableHost, and I'm going to click on Sign Up and pick the Unlimited Starter Plan. Now, this is where a lot of people go wrong. A lot of people will put in their domain name here. Register a new domain. You don't want to register a new domain. You've already got your domain name. You bought it over at Namecheap. You also don't want to transfer your domain from another registrar, because what that will mean is that your domain name itself is taken away from Namecheap and is then associated and controlled by StableHost. That means StableHost or your web host would control the domain registration and also your web hosting. That's a dangerous situation to be in. What we want to do is we want to keep Namecheap. We want Namecheap to be in control of our domain, make sure it's renewed, make sure it's looked after, but we want StableHost to control the web hosting. So the option we're going to choose is I will use my existing domain and update my name servers. You can then paste in your domain name, and this is the one that I'm going to use just for this demonstration. Okay, that arrow is coming up pure and simply because I hadn't actually typed in com. I thought it was already there because it was a sort of a ghost com in that box. Click on Next. And then we come to the payment page where you can select the terms on how long you want to pay for. The more you pay for, so if you pay for 3 years up front, you're going to get it a lot cheaper. Hosting location. If most of your stuff is in America or your visitors are going to be from America, then choose one, either Phoenix or Chicago. If you're European based, then perhaps you want to choose the Amsterdam one instead, but it's really not that important. These two things here, you don't need to select. Let's just continue with that. And you've got to enter your details here. Once you've done that, click on the You've read Terms of Agreement, check out, pay for your hosting, and then your hosting will be sorted out. You've got Namecheap in control of your domain, you've got StableHost in control of your hosting. The next thing you need to do is go back to Namecheap and find the domain that you've just created. If it's your first domain, you'll only have one in the list. Go along to the Manage button at the end and click on that. You'll be taken to the domain details screen, and you want to scroll down to Name Servers, And what we want to do is change the name servers to custom DNS, and this is where you enter in the name servers for your web host. This is something that your web host will send you in an email. If you're using StableHost, then the name servers are ns1stablehost.com, ns2stablehost.com. And then once you finish, you click on the little check button, and that is all you need to do. The Namecheap is now talking to your web host. So if anybody goes to your domain, then they are going to StableHost, because that is where the Namecheap directs them. The next step is to go back to StableHost, and you need to log into your cPanel. cPanel is something that your web host will have given you access to, and it can take a few minutes to come through. So if you haven't got it yet, then go back and check your emails, find your cPanel login, and log into cPanel. Your cPanel is going to look a little bit like this. It could look a little bit differently depending on which host you're with, but if you're with StableHost, it's probably going to look like this. And you want to scroll down to the software section where you see Softaculous Apps Installer. If you don't have Softaculous Apps Installer in yours, then go to the Installing WordPress course. Last bonus lecture of this course will give you access to that, and you can find the alternatives there. If you keep scrolling down, there is actually a Softaculous Apps Installer section with StableHost, and you can just click on the WordPress button there. But let's use this link up here. Click on Softaculous Apps Installer, and then when you come to this screen, you can click on or move your mouse over the WordPress logo and then click on Install. And this is the installation screen. We're going to use 5.11, which is the latest version as I record this video, and you can see you've got an option here, HTTP or HTTPS. Which one you choose will depend on your host. If your host offers free SSL certificates, or you have an SSL certificate already installed on your server for your domain, then you can choose HTTPS. If you don't, then try HTTP. How can you tell? Well, select your domain that you're going to install WordPress on in this drop-down box here, and then switch over to HTTPS. You might need to click down into another box for this to work, but if it says a trusted SSL certificate was not found, that means there is no certificate for SSL on your server for this domain. If you're using StableHost or a web host that offers Let's Encrypt or a free SSL, then you need to install the certificate first. So I'm going to go over to Control Panel and show you how to do that. It's very easy. We want to look for the security section. And you can see here in the security section we've got a link to Let's Encrypt. This will allow us to create a certificate and install it on the server for this domain. If you don't have that, then unfortunately back on this screen you're going to need to install the HTTP version, and then you can switch over to HTTP later when you have your website up and running. So for now we're going over to Let's Encrypt. I'm going to click on that link, and this shows me all of the certificates that are available on my server. I need to create a new one, so I need to scroll down this page until we find the section on installing a new certificate. And you can see here we've got issue a new certificate, and I'm looking for my domain name, which is this one. This is the one I'm going to install WordPress. So I'm just going to click on issue and then scroll down and just click on issue without having to change any of the options. Once this has completed, the certificate will be installed for the domain that I want to install WordPress on. So I can go back to my Softaculous installer, and I'm going to just click off and then change back to HTTPS, click off, and you can see now we don't get that error warning. If you try this and you switch over to HTTPS after you've issued the certificate and you still get the certificate was not found, just give it a moment or two, give it a couple of minutes and then try it again, and you should be set to go. So we've got the WordPress version selected, HTTPS, we've got the domain selected, and now where do you want to install it? The default is WP, and you want to delete that. If you don't delete that, then your home page will be at your domain name /WP, and that's not really what you want. We can then scroll down the options, and you can type in a site name and a site description. We don't want to enable multi-site, and then change your admin username. You don't want to use admin as your username because it gives hackers half of what they need to log in. And then choose an admin password and make it a strong password. So I've got this application which will generate passwords for me, and I'm just going to use that one, and then enter an email address This is important because this is the email address that is the admin for your WordPress site. This is where you're going to get notifications. Make sure your email address is one that you have and check regularly. If we keep scrolling down, we can select the language, and then we have some options down here. I'm not going to go into great detail. You can choose these if you want to. There's limit login attempts. That just helps prevent hackers from getting access because it limits the number of times they can log in. It's actually a plugin that is installed in your dashboard. You may or may not want it. Classic editor is another option. Currently, WordPress uses the Gutenberg editor. If you are wanting to use the old classic version of the editor, then you can select that and install that too. But do check out later in this course when we talk about the WordPress editors. So that is a choice. And then manage multiple WordPress. We're not going to cover that one, so we don't want that checked. Down to advanced options. The database name is automatically random for you, as is the table prefix. This is to help prevent hackers from gaining access because they don't know what the table names are. So you can leave those as they are. Disable update notification emails. Why would you want to disable them? When there's updates, you need to know about them so you can go in and update. There is also an auto update or auto upgrade, which in some cases can break your site. So I personally do not auto upgrade. I just go in and check my websites every month or so and update as necessary, and then I can check there and then if things are still working. But that is up to you. If you want to upgrade to minor versions only, then we're in version 5 at the moment, so until version 6 those upgrades will be automatic, and then as soon as we go over into version 6 you'll have to go in and manually update it. That might be the best option. Do you want to auto upgrade WordPress plugins? It's always good to keep plugins and themes updated. For the same reason as above, I don't auto upgrade them. I go in and manually do them. But if you want to save yourself some time, then you will need to check your site periodically just to make sure it hasn't broken. Backup location, default, and then enter an email installation details to your email address again. So here we go. There's my email address. And then just click on install. I'm going to save those because that's my username and password to get into the site. And you can see the progress, it's quite quick. That's it, WordPress is now installed, and I can go over to my site by clicking the link, and you can see that we have the domain there. It's using HTTPS, which is what we'd set up, and there is also a login link there. If I click on the login link, you're taken to this screen. Notice that the address up here is the address that you'll use to log in. The other way you can grab that is by clicking this link. It's slightly different, but it allows you to log in as well. This one has your domain name /WP admin. This other one, your domain name /WP login.php. Both of those will take you to the same screen to log in. And as you can see, we can now log into the website. This is the dashboard, and this is where you'll be building your website. I just want to point out one thing, that once you get to this stage and WordPress is installed, if you go over to your website and try to load it and it doesn't load, you get a 404 or you get some other message that the WordPress isn't there, then you just probably need to give it a little bit of time. The reason for that is in Namecheap, the registrar, we added DNS servers which point towards our web host. Those DNS servers can take up to 48 hours to fully propagate around the internet. So for the next 48 hours, you may have connection issues. You can see on my own website here, I've tried to visit again and I'm getting the page isn't working. That's purely because the DNS haven't fully updated around the web. I can keep clicking on refresh and it will keep trying to load it, but for the next day or two it could be a little bit out of sorts. Usually it is resolved fully for me within an hour or two, but please give it a little bit more time if you are having this problem. Once it's done, your website should be up and you should be able to log into the dashboard and start working on your website.